Hey everyone, and welcome back to NexGen News. I'm Trenton.
And I'm Oscar, and this is NexGen News.
We have quite the roller coaster of a show for you today.
Yes, prepare to feel all sorts of emotions and even talk to your dog.
What?
Don't worry about it. We'll get to that later. For now, let's head to Trenton for our top story.
Meet Rochelle Woody and Omari Scott. This grandmother-grandson duo lived together in public housing in Washington, D.C. Luck brought this pair together a decade ago when Rochelle discovered a grandson she never knew she had. She took Omari out of the foster care system, and they've been inseparable ever since. Rochelle, age 71, used to work for government agencies and did stints in sales, and some occasional gigs as a clothing model. But mostly she has been driving for a rideshare service. Omari, age 16, plays high school football and was in the process of getting recruited to play college ball until the pandemic hit. Now stuck at home together in a cramped apartment, Omari's school has become virtual and the college recruiting calls have dried up. And Rochelle understandably doesn't want to drive strangers in a car due to the risk of COVID-19. Unfortunately, Rochelle and Omari are now facing eviction.
What? They can't do that? Where will they go?
Well, because so many Americans have lost their jobs during the pandemic, Rochelle and Omari's eviction story unfortunately is only one of millions right now. When the pandemic hit the U.S. back in March 2020 and everything shut down, causing many to lose their jobs, there was an instant fear by families across the country. How will I be able to pay my rent? This fear was compounded by the fact that the very thing that may cause their eviction, COVID-19, will become even more dangerous if they were out on the street. To help combat this issue, in September 2020, the Centers for Disease Control, CDC, issued the National Eviction Moratorium, which prohibits landlords from evicting tenants. You might be wondering, how did the CDC, which focuses on disease protection, issue this housing mandate? Well, keeping people in their houses helps with social distancing. Eviction doesn't. Although the National Eviction Moratorium provided some relief, it is set to end on January 31st, 2021.
What happens after that? The pandemic is still raging. Where will these people go?
I know, Oscar. I know. It makes me angry too, but there is still some hope. Some states have been issuing their own eviction moratoriums or calling for housing relief bills. Additionally, President Biden has proposed a $1.9 trillion stimulus package to finally get that second round of stimulus checks. Fingers crossed on that one, although I've stopped holding my breath. In addition to Biden's stimulus plan, his recovery plan would extend moratoriums on evictions until September 2021. If this plan goes through, Rochelle and Omari should be safe until then.
Well, I know what I would be voting for if I was in Congress. People of the House and Senate, we the American people need you. Keep people in their homes. Stimulate the economy. We are counting on you.
That's the spirit, Oscar. To all of you at home, if your family or someone you know is in danger of being evicted right now, do not leave home. Instead, head over to the CDC website and search eviction to know your rights. And to Rochelle and Omari, thank you for sharing your story with the world, and know that we are with you. Hey, Oscar.
Yeah, Trenton?
Do you remember those Georgia Senate races that would determine which political party controlled the United States Senate?
Oh, yeah. Do you know who won?
Oscar, history was made. The Reverend Raphael Warnock became the first African-American senator from Georgia.
Wow, the first? That's amazing. Didn't you tell me he was the pastor of Martin Luther King Jr.'s church?
Yes, not only that, he has never held public office before, and he was able to beat an incumbent, which is very hard.
Wow.
But through his work as a pastor, Senator Warnock has fought for access to health care, climate change, and clemency for inmates on death row.
That's amazing. So because of his win, the win by Jon Ossoff, the Democrats have control of the legislative and executive branch?
Right, Oscar. And Jon Ossoff will be the first Jewish senator to represent Georgia.
So much history was made in those races.
Yes, it was. Let's hear Senator Warnock himself describe what his victory meant for him.
We were told that we couldn't win this election. But tonight, we prove that with hope, hard work, and the people by our side, anything is possible. May my story be an inspiration to some young person who is trying to grasp and grab hold of the American dream. And my mother, who as a teenager growing up in Waycross, Georgia, used to pick somebody else's cotton. But the other day, because this is America, the 82-year-old hands that used to pick somebody else's cotton went to the polls and picked her youngest son to be a United States Senator.
Wow, can you believe that? I can't even imagine how his mother feels. That must be so surreal for her.
I bet. Hey, Oscar, do you remember how many African Americans have served in Congress?
No, Trenton, but Giovanna has been doing some research. Let's ask her what she has learned in this week's edition of NexGen History.
Hey NexGen viewers, Giovanna here with another edition of NexGen History for you. You know, Oscar and Trenton, I've learned so much about the history of African Americans in the United States government. Can you believe that only 163 African Americans have ever served in Congress? This breaks down to 153 African Americans serving in the House of Representatives and only 10 African Americans serving in the Senate.
10?
Wait, just 10?
Yes, just 10. Let's take a quick look back at what happened after the Civil War. You see, after the Civil War, there was a period of time known as Reconstruction. During Reconstruction, a group of politicians who had also been abolitionists wanted to transform society. They wanted to create a society where both men, black and white, could have equality in both civic and political life. Unfortunately, this didn't include women because they were still fighting to be recognized to get the rights that they deserve. But that's a whole other story.
Okay, Giovanna, to stay on topic, how long did Reconstruction last?
Great question. It was a period of a little over 10 years, from 1865 to 1877. During this time, so much legislation was passed that sought to help African Americans fully participate in American society. The 13th Amendment was passed. This outlawed slavery. The 14th Amendment was passed, which granted citizenship to all people born or naturalized in the United States. And the 15th Amendment was passed, which guaranteed the right to vote to eligible African American men.
Giovanna, who were the first African Americans to serve in Congress?
So the 15th Amendment gave African American men the chance to vote for who they wanted to represent them in state, local, and federal government. In 1870, America saw its first black members of Congress elected, Hiram Revels of Mississippi in the Senate and Joseph Rainey of South Carolina in the House of Representatives.
Giovanna, what was their time in Congress like? I can't even imagine what they must have felt. Men who were once considered property by the government now became elected officials?
Well, Trenton, while African Americans were finally able to participate in government, they only made up 2% of congressional membership. Even though they had been fairly elected, they were still excluded from key committee memberships and sometimes even banned from speaking on the House floor.
Wow, they were so courageous to continue to fight even in the face of adversity.
You're right, Trenton. Unfortunately, when Reconstruction ended in 1877, Southern states began to create a segregated society through laws. This pretty much ended black participation in state and local government. The federal government did little to combat this. From 1877 to 1901, only 5 black members served in Congress, and they were treated so poorly that they could not get any legislation passed.
That's horrible.
Yes, and because of violence, intimidation, and fraud, it became virtually impossible for black people to vote for their own elected officials. Because of this, it wasn't until 1929 when an African American was elected to Congress. His name was Oscar DePriest. He is from Chicago, and in fact, 13 African Americans were elected that year.
When I look how difficult it was for African Americans to get elected, especially in the South, Warnock's victory is even more amazing.
You're right, Oscar, but work still needs to be done. With Kamala Harris becoming vice president, there will now be no black women in the U.S. Senate. If you want to learn more about the history of African Americans in Congress, check out senate.gov, which is the website for information on the U.S. Senate, and history.house.gov to learn more about the House of Representatives. I'm Giovanna, and thanks for tuning in to this edition of NexGen History.
Hey, Oscar, do you like games and money?
Yes. I mean, who doesn't?
Perfect. Then let's play a game. Who wants to be a millionaire? Are you ready?
I wasn't prepared for the trivia today. This wasn't in the script.
I'll take that as a yes. Let's play Who Wants to Be a Millionaire? The first question is, besides Raphael Warnock, who are the other African American senators that are currently in the Senate? Is it A, Cory Booker and Kamala Harris, B, Cory Booker and Tim Scott, C, Tim Scott and Kamala Harris, or D, Barack Obama and Roland Burris?
Well, I know it can't be D because of Barack Obama, but I'm not sure about the rest. Can I phone a friend?
You sure can.
Hello?
Hey, Giovanna, do you have a sec? I have a question.
Sure, Oscar, what do you need?
Which of the following black senators are currently serving in the Senate? Is it A, Cory Booker and Kamala Harris, B, Cory Booker and Tim Scott, or C, Tim Scott and Kamala Harris?
It's B, Cory Booker and Tim Scott. Well, Kamala Harris was serving as senator, but she's now the vice president, which leaves Cory Booker and Tim Scott.
Oh, right. Thanks, Giovanna.
You're welcome. Anytime.
All right, Oscar, your time is up. What is your final answer?
I'm gonna go with B, Cory Booker and Tim Scott.
B is correct. All right, Oscar, next question. Which of the following industries produces the most waste? Is it A, finance, B, entertainment, C, education, or D, agriculture?
Oh, this one's easy. It's D, agriculture.
Are you sure that is your final answer?
Yes?
D is correct. The agricultural industry not only emits carbon dioxide, but also produces a lot of food waste. Which reminds me, have you heard of what's going on with agriculture in Malaysia?
No? But are we still playing the game?
Let's take a brief intermission for this story. Malaysian researchers have developed a method to transform discarded pineapple leaves into drones. Yes, you heard me right, drones. Let's take a look.
It's not a bird. It's not a plane. It's a drone made partly from pineapple leaves. The design is part of a sustainability project at Malaysia's Putra University, led by Professor Muhammad Tariq Hamid Sultan.
This current project is to transform these agricultural waste into a potential aerospace application, which is a drone structure.
Tariq's team uses discarded pineapple leaves to create the skeletons of aerial drones.
The most important thing of this particular design is we are using agricultural waste, which is we are transforming the leaf of the pineapple fiber into a fiber, and that particular fiber, who have been seeing that this fiber can be used for aerospace application, basically in inventing a drone.
Wow, talk about upcycling.
Right? These pineapple farmers are able to take their waste and create something useful that they can sell to others.
When you put it that way, it's like they're charging people to take away their agricultural waste. Sounds like a win-win to me.
Sure is. Okay, Oscar, let's get back to it. Let's play Who Wants to Be a Millionaire?
Ugh, not this again.
Hey, Oscar, do you have a dog?
Unfortunately, no. But if I did, I would definitely get a Chow Chow, or a Chinese Crescent, or a Pulley.
A pulley?
You know, mop dog.
No wonder you haven't got a dog. I, myself, have a golden retriever named Airbud. Like from the movie. Airbud. Still can't get over when they left him on that island. It makes me cry every time.
Trenton, did you know that you can now communicate with your dogs now?
What? So the kid from the movie could have told Airbud that he was better off going to the island than going with that man clown that he was trying to take him back with?
Wow, Wow, you really love the movie Air Bud, and not exactly, but you could have understand what Air Bud was feeling when he barked. Let me explain. A South Korean startup called PetPulse has developed an AI-powered dog collar that can detect dogs' emotions by monitoring their barks using voice recognition technology. When a dog barks, it sends a signal to the dog's owner's smartphone and says the dog is happy, relaxed, anxious, angry, or sad. You could own this collar for the reasonable price of $99. Let's take a look at this collar in action.
Peppers give a dog voice that human can understand. With this device, we humans can understand and communicate better, more accurately, more effectively. When dog barks, dog's barking sound will be collected through this device, and then those voice files will be transferred to our main server. And in this main server, our Pepper's unique voice recognition system and algorithm will analyze dog's voice, and then in real time, it was sent back to our application with a different emotional status.
That's crazy. How is that even possible?
Well, the company collected different types of barks to analyze dogs' emotions for 3 years. They developed an algorithm based on a database of more than 10,000 samples from 50 breeds of dogs. I wonder if the Mup Dog is one of them.
Probably not. I'm still a little skeptical about this whole thing.
I thought you might say that, so I invited some friends to come on the show today. Meet Enzo and Juniper and their owner, Zoe Gomer. Zoe is a professional dog trainer with a degree in behavioral science, and she's here to talk to us today. Hi, Zoe. Thanks for coming on the show today.
Hey, NexGen News. I'm glad to be here.
Before we get started, I wanted to tell you your dogs are just adorable.
They sure are. Zoe, our first question is, how do you feel about a dog collar that lets owners know what their barks mean?
I think the new dog collar coming out is an awesome first step towards gaining a better understanding of what goes through our furry friends' minds during the day. Having a tool like this can make it easy for humans to understand exactly what their dogs may need or want, and clarity between an owner and a pet can create a really strong bond.
That's really cool. I mean, sometimes I feel like I know what Air Bud's thinking, but I can never be too sure.
Which brings me to my next question. Zoe, for all those people out there who don't have a PetBull's dog collar, what can owners do to know how their dogs are feeling or what they need?
If you can't get your hands on this super cool collar, there's some really easy ways to figure out what your dog is trying to say to you. Body language is the most common way your dog will try and communicate, so I'm going to give you a couple translations the next time you're with your dog. If you see a dog with its tail tucked under its body and big eyes with the white part showing, that dog is trying to say, I'm scared, or I really don't want you to come any closer, so you should leave that dog alone. However, if a dog approaches you with a relaxed wagging tail and offers a play bow or a stretch that looks a lot like downward dog, they're trying to convey that they're really happy or excited to see you, so you should go ahead and say hello. If you're interested in learning more about dog body language, you can check out the American Kennel Club at akc.org or go over to your local Humane Society for tips and tricks.
I'm definitely going to try paying attention to Air Bud's body language. Thanks, Zoe.
Yes, thank you, Zoe and Enzo and Juniper, for coming on the show today and answering our questions.
You're welcome, and thank you so much for having us on the show.
Well, there you have it, everyone. Whether or not you get the new AI dog collar, there are ways for you to better understand your dog's needs and feelings. To all you dog owners out there, we hope you find this useful.
I know Air Bud and I did.
Well, NexGen viewers, that about wraps up our show for today.
It sure does. Good luck on your mission trying to get a dog.
Thanks, Trenton. One day, that mop dog will be mine. For now, I'm Oscar.
And I'm Trenton.
And we are NexGen News.
Bringing news to the next generation.